Okay, so obviously you don't see too many questions here. Let me blow this up a little bit. Uh, that's better. There we go. Okay, so let me just explain a couple things here. These are the quiz-like questions that I'm posting for the week. Um, there's only 2 questions here, obviously. The quiz has 10 questions, so why is there only 2 questions? Well, pretty much every question on the quiz is some variation of one of these 2 questions. And actually, most of them are some variation of that first question here. So I'm going to work through these two, and then I'll explain kind of some nuances or ways that the questions are varied from this in the quiz, just to give you an idea of what you can expect and or try to focus on if you're studying for it. So partnership is organized on June 30th, 2016 by John and Jim. John contributes $1,000 cash and land worth $5,000. Jim contributes $2,000 cash and equipment worth $10,000 that is subject to a $5,000 note payable, which is also contributed. What is the correct journal entry to show Jim only's initial investment? Okay, and I just put from the partnership's perspective on there to remind you again, that's one of the biggest areas that people make mistakes. Look at this from the point of view of the business that you're discussing, not from the individual owner's point of view. Okay, so that's important. So from the business perspective, what is the business getting from Jim, and what is it going to give to Jim? Well, let's see. We're first going to debit cash because Jim contributed $2,000 cash. Okay. Then what else did Jim contribute? Equipment worth $10,000. Okay. $10,000 debited to the equipment account. What other information do we have? He also, well, that equipment, there was a loan taken out to pay for it, so the note payable that's tied to the equipment, that's financing it, so to speak. This is similar to a mortgage in a house, right? This is the underlying financing instrument that has allowed us to purchase the equipment or allowed Jim to purchase the equipment. And he is contributing that equipment, but also the underlying financial obligation goes with it. Okay, so that was a $5,000 note payable that the company is taking over, so that increases the company's indebtedness. Okay, so that's all the information we're given there. So let's look at what we have. We got a debit, $12,000. We got $5,000 on the credit side. So we need another $7,000 on the credit side to balance this out. And in this case, since this is the initial capital entry showing Jim's contribution to buy into the partnership or to form the partnership, Jim's capital is increased by the net debit balance of the rest of this journal entry. Okay, so what I'm saying basically is you will increase Jim's capital account by crediting it $7,000 here. Okay, so that's one variation, and probably I'd say 6 or 7 of the questions on the quiz deal with a situation where you have, well, maybe not that many, now that I think about it. It may be more evenly split between these two types. Anyway, there are several different scenarios of formation of a partnership, and things that you need to remember from that. Always remember if there's a liability associated with it that is attached to the asset that's being contributed. Remember to include that, and essentially, I mean, like you see in this journal entry here, the net effect of this equipment minus the note payable is $5,000, right? So you want to be able to say, or to be able to express that, okay, basically Jim donated equipment essentially worth $5,000, because when you take away what he still owes on it, that's what's left over. Okay, so you need to be able to reduce invested assets by whatever attached liability to them is also being contributed. Let's see what else. In addition to that, cash, obviously goes in as cash. Any other asset just goes in as that type of asset minus you would credit any liability that's associated with it. So let's look at this other type. Partner A has a capital balance of $25,000, partner B $50,000, and partner C $150,000. The partnership agreement calls for the members of the partnership to divide income and loss according to the capital balances in their accounts. This year, the partnership earned net income of $400,000. So based on these percentages up here, and I purposely, actually, I guess I didn't. Okay, so I had meant to make these round numbers up here, but apparently I don't know how to add 150 plus 50 plus 25, which is, again, proof that you don't have to be a mathematician to be an accountant. Anyway, so since I didn't make these round numbers, I'll have to do it the harder or the more drawn-out way anyway, which is good. So the way that we can visualize this, partner A, 25, this is in thousands, of course. Partner B, 50. Partner C, 150. Okay, so we want to know what's the total of those. Oops. What's the total of those three numbers? Well, down here that tells me that's 225. Okay, so that totals to 225. And now I want to know, well, what percentage is each of these numbers of that 225? Or in other words, of my total capital, which percentage do each of these partners own? Okay, so this would be the total partnership capital or owner's equity, and it would be divvied up based on these ratios. Okay, so all I have to do is I take these numbers and essentially use this as the denominator. So I have 25 divided by 225 equals 50 divided by 225 equals 150 divided by 225. Okay, so, and I will change those just for the purpose of rounding to percentages. There you go. Okay, these are my rounded percentage ratio percentages, and this is my capital split and income loss split. Okay, so in this scenario, we agreed in the partnership agreement to divvy up income based on the capital split. Well, that is this number here, and this is the percentage associated with that. So now all I have to do is take the income for the year, which is 400,000, times that. Times 22%. Okay. There we go. So that is each individual partner's share based on their capital split or their capital ownership percentage. There are several quiz questions that basically all it's asking you to do is, can you calculate these ratios? Okay, so again, one more time. To do that, total up the total capital, which is just adding each of their capitals together for the total capital for the partnership, and then use that as the denominator and each of these as the numerator to get your ratios. Once you have the ratio, you multiply that times either income or loss, and that will tell you how much income or loss is going to each partner. And in this case, since it was income, each partner is getting income. Okay, so between those two styles of questions, that should basically cover everything. Maybe slight variations from that, but it is a fairly straightforward quiz. As long as you understand the principles behind these two questions, and the other things I said to pay attention to.